K.O. Grave, my deeply unpopular opinion is that Scott Hall wouldn't have been nearly as much of a mess for years if he didn't hang around enablers like Nash and Hogan.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion. You're a fucking idiot. Scott had a problem way before he met me.
Well, the other thing, too, is that at the time in the business, all of you guys were on the road together.
Yeah,
It
I mean
wasn't one.
when you're when you're in a car and everybody's unconscious and everybody's eating pills and drinking booze, I just don't see how anybody enables anybody.
But and also, Kevin, don't you think when I read that, I didn't reply. It doesn't. But that could have been you. It could have been any of the guys. A result of that lifestyle, because of the
It
grind,
wouldn't have
and
been me though.
you don't think you could have had an addiction coming out of your
No,
years in wrestling?
I didn't.
You didn't, but you don't
No,
think if you had the
no, I was
genes that.
addicted to somas. I stopped
Mm-hmm.
cold turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the with alcohol, I don't have. Either you have an addictive personality or you don't. You don't develop it. You don't.
But that's the Russian roulette I'm saying. You don't always know if you've got that gene for addiction or your
Well, if
family
your
or whatever.
parents are addicts, both Scott's mother and father were alcoholics.
Mm, right.
I would say that you would tend to have, you know,
Much higher probability.
yeah, my mom didn't drink.
Mhm.
I know my dad was an alcoholic. I'm sure he was a functioning alcoholic, but I mean, I remember when I was 3 or 4 years old going to pick my dad up. That's back in the good old days when if you got in a wreck and you just hit a telephone pole and you hit somebody else, you just come, you know, pick your dad up at the police station.
Ruin the car. An inner
Shit was
fender.
crazy. But we used
Although
to,
those
I
fucking
remember
cars
being
were
like 15,
tanks.
16 years old and being in the back seat of a car and getting pulled over and the cops just taking our beer,
Right.
telling us and driving us home and then, making us pull up the in between the houses in that little fucking, you know, a spot that's barely, you can barely get the doors open once you pull the car in between the houses, and then they fucking put the lights on, the blue lights on, and wait until your mom or opens the door, and then they back out, and there you are, like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Let
What
me
you got
smell
at
your
home.
breath.
What you got at home sometimes worse than what they
Yeah, well,
would get
yeah,
at
that
home.
was the thing back then. Parents, the parents were allowed to beat you.
Right. Everyone was allowed to beat you, right?
Yeah,
The nuns would hit you.
teachers, everybody.
The nuns from the two horror movies we talked about. They demonic possession and what the hell was that called? The first omen, last omen, first omen.
Uh,
I don't know.
I don't have your class ring, Kenny. I'm not.